What's happening, folks? We're back. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Against the Fence. This is the place to be if you're obsessed and passionate about the UFC. And we've got lots to recap and go through this past weekend's UFC 303. I'm back. I wasn't here during the watch along. Unfortunately, I was away at a music festival called Glastonbury over here in the UK. If you had not heard of it, it is one of the biggest music festivals in the world. So I was away this past weekend, but I caught the fights. I caught some of the fights anyways. Probably majority of the main card, actually. I did kind of watch some of the fights when I got up Sunday morning. But we got lots to get through anyhow. We'll talk about whether or not Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira will happen in the future, because that's one of the talking points that's kind of come out of this past weekend. We'll talk about Ian Machado Garry's path to gold, what that might look like since he got the victory against Michael Venom Page. We'll talk about Europasca's chances at middleweight, because it's kind of been something that's talked about in the past, potentially moving down. So we'll look at some options for him, maybe at light heavyweight as well, just in case it doesn't happen. And we'll talk about the pound-for-pound rankings shake-up that has also happened as well, which is pretty crazy, right? The UFC website people, whoever updates the rankings, has kind of pulled another done Dana dirt in a lot of ways. Because, of course, we know that Dana loves Jon Jones and considers him the pound-for-pound number one. But we'll talk about where Jon Jones is now at number 3 in the rankings. Size in the house. Yes, I have caught the sun. Man's been kissed by the sun. Looking pretty tanned. Indeed. And kind of getting my voice back a little bit as well, as you can probably tell. Sound a little bit different and look different as well. But nonetheless, it's going to be the same kind of show over here. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about in due course. And of course, we've got the rankings that have updated as well. Well, there's a few updates. Actually, I think I've had a glance at them very last minute. I don't think there has been any updates as such, but we'll use them for you guys to pair up some of the future matchups that we're going to make following this past weekend's main card. Like I said, not watched all the fights, but touch upon some of the prelims. I'm yet to catch Joe Pyfer's knockout Marc-Andre Barriault. He's back to winning ways, so that's good to know and see. And of course, Peyton Talbot, though, I did catch that highlight. Another knockout finish for him. Cannot wait to see what's next for him. The UFC have got to give him a ranked opponent, perhaps at bantamweight. But bantamweight is so stacked. It's going to be a nightmare. I can't wait to see what they're going to give him next. Maybe you guys in the chats or in the comment section can help us with who you want to see Peyton Talbot fight next. So that's another option there. And Gillian Robertson defeating Michelle Waterson-Gomez. Michelle Waterson-Gomez retiring as well. I thought that Gillian Robertson was going to get a submission out of that fight, but it went to the judges' scorecards. One judge scoring at 30-26. So, look, Gillian Robertson moves on and continues to shine in the women's strawweight division. Welcome on in. Smash a like on the video if you've not done so already. Let's get into bit of a recap then of the main card. Bit of a short show tonight. As, like I said, I've not been able to watch all of the fights and catch all of the action. Most of it I have caught. The main event, co-main event, most of the Ian Machado Garry versus MVP. I caught the Mason Chasson Maribana Silva fight, that doctor stoppage, and I caught the first round of the Lise versus Anthony Smith. So not bad going. It's been a bit of a rush show, but we'll get through it anyhow. So we'll recap then the events from the first fight. Michael Venom Page versus Ian Machado Garry. Machado Garry picking up the victory, which, you know, I'm not surprised by this outcome at all. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen. The blueprint was obvious and wasn't something we've seen before from Machado Garry. You know, I even tweeted out moments, I think it might be the day of the fight, saying that I felt that we needed to see some grappling from Ian Garry in this one, and MVP was the perfect opponent to showcase that, because it's an area we've seen MVP struggle in the past. Now, Ian Garry was super close to pick up the rear naked choke finish in round 1. When I was like scrolling through the stream, if you know, the next day, I was like trying to get to the start of the fight, and I skipped like most of the main card. And when I skipped it, like Ian Garry had MVP's back and was looking to sink that choke in, and I was like, oh no, I can't go back and watch from the start now. I need to see this play out. And look, MVP showed that he struggled, but he was able to get out of a lot of good positions. So props to him on that. Ian Garry struggled really to finish that choke off, and I think there was a backstage interview or not an interview, an altercation he had with Gilbert Burns and Damian Maia, where they were kind of going over that sequence and what he felt he'd done wrong and wasn't able to achieve during that position, and which kind of shows that Ian Garry is a true professional. He's clearly keen to learn, constantly develop as a fighter. He's 16-0 now, and there's still levels to this game that we're yet to see from him. Welcome on in, Christian Manigia. Hi, bro. What do you think about Khabib's terrorist friend, Kalibab Laps? Mate, I've no idea. No idea what's going on with that, mate. I've not really looked into it, I'm afraid. Thanks for your comment. Smash a like on the video. Much appreciated. But the thing is, with this fight, or what's next for Ian Machado Garry, so we'll take a look into the rankings. Nothing's updated, but what do you guys want to see from him? Let's go through the path to gold for him now, because as we can see, he's in at number 7. Nothing's really changed, having defeated a guy who's ranked in at 14. Personally, I would like to see him fight Colby Covington next. I think it's a fight that fans will get excited about, and it's a great fight, I think, for both guys. But is it a fight that Colby Covington wants? Because Colby said that Garry is a bit of a nobody, and he did call out Charles Oliveira. I think it was on our Ariel Helwani's show, which was interesting to me, because it's clear that Colby wants somebody who's got a bit more of a star power, perhaps a former champion, and he's quite a bit of a big household name in the UFC. So I'm not surprised by that. And in that interview, he was kind of saying that Charles Oliveira is actually a big lightweight, and he's a bit of a weight bully, but cuts down to lightweight. And I'm like, Colby, all these things that you're saying are things that are just trying to spark people's attention. You're trying to create noise from this fight because you desperately want this fight, and you feel like it's a fight that is probably going to earn you the most money, which kudos to him. It's a smart move, of course. But selling point. Surely Ian Garry is going to sell this fight for you, right? But then at the same time, you got to look at it and go, well, where would the UFC put it card-wise? It's not going to be a main event. I've spoken about that they should have done it in the main event in the previous Aftermath shows. But how far do you think they would put it? Is it more or less a co-main event? Probably. I can see it being a co-main event. A featured bout, that's kind of the areas that Ian's getting put in lately. I mean, he opened the main card this past weekend. So maybe these are things that Colby is looking at the moment. But on the flip side, Ian has come out and said that he's kind of moving on from the Colby Covington fight as well. So it's a bit of a shame to see. Not likely going to see it, but he is open to a fight with Shavkat Rakhmonov, which is a smart decision. It's probably the highest jump that he can get fight-wise in the division. They're former teammates as well. So there's that factor in there as well, as a bit of a selling point. But Is Shavkat going to fight Jack Della Maddalena? Because that was something that I think was scheduled at one particular point, but Jack Della Maddalena wasn't or hasn't properly healed, or his scars hadn't healed from his, I think it was his forearm surgery. So he might be out for a little bit longer. So maybe this is the right opportunity for Ian Garry to take that Shavkat fight. Maybe. Christian Manigela says, yeah, bro, a lot going on. Do you think Sean Brady... Oh, come on, man. You're not going to get me with that. You're not going to get me with that. Like, why would you put Sean Brady... If you're going to get me with that, why would you put someone like Sean Brady in there when I know that Sean Brady is paired up with Gilbert Burns? Come on, man. Come on, man. Smash like on the video. Much appreciated for your comment, as always. Yeah, back onto the matchups then. So if Ian fights Shavkat, he moves in at number 3 there. He's basically next for the title, right? That would be his path to gold. But if the UFC decide to do the JDM fight because of timing purposes, then that might set Ian Garry back a little bit. And he might have to wait out a bit longer because, let's face it, he's not going to fight Gilbert Burns because they're buddies. Jack Della Maddalena, been out. Colby, trying to fight a lightweight. You know, the only other thing would be to wait for the loser of Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. Unless Kamaru Usman wants to come out of the woodwork, but we still don't even know what's going to happen with him next. Is he going to continue fighting at middleweight? Is he going to try and earn his way back to a title fight? I don't know. Maybe he's sitting out to see if Bilal Muhammad beats Leon Edwards this end of this month. You know? I don't know. Smash like on the video, guys. Get in the comment section and let us know what you think will play out. As for Michael Venom Page, though, can he bounce back from this? I think he can. A lot of things have been on my mind with this. What's next with Michael Venom Page? Because I was speaking to Ash yesterday, and I think that the UFC are probably paying him good money to be in the UFC and make that jump because there was a bit of competition from PFL. But what will the UFC decide to do with him next? And I was sort of saying to Ash, I can imagine the UFC will still give him a bit of a jump in the rankings. I think they'll give him someone that he can kind of maybe, you know, win and move forward on. But as far as I'm going, you know, I said with Ash, if Ian Garry does get paired up with Shavkat Rakhmonov and Jack Della Maddalena does heal up, then the UFC could do Jack Della Maddalena versus MVP because it's a contest on the feet. MVP's not going to get taken down. It's boxer versus taekwondo, karate style. Who's going to come out on top? Is it a fight that MVP can look good at because he's great at distance management? If he gets a win under his belt, he's in top 5. Then, you know, and you've got Ian Garry, who probably could be at top 5 at the time. Who knows? We're still yet to find out. But yeah, I can see the UFC doing MVP favors. But if I'm the matchmaker right now, as it stands, probably give him a Jeff Neal, sitting in at number 10 there. Not too much of a jump, but again, it's another striker that MVP can have success against, in my opinion. You know, what do you think? Smash like on the video, guys. But yeah, that's all I've got matchup wise for these guys. That's, I think, the path to gold for Ian Garry, Shavkat, then a title fight, or Kamaru Usman if Usman is willing to come back. Really, Usman's the ultimate test, really, for him. Is he one away from gold? If I'm Ian Garry, I'll be going after Kamaru Usman personally instead of Shavkat. Riskier fight. And not only that, I think it would spice welterweight up a little bit better if you've got Shavkat, who's up there, and you've got Ian Garry, who's kind of got a win over a former champion who's been on the decline, and then you've got, you know, some new breed coming into the top 5 because welterweight, you know, top 5 wise is It's not looking great. I mean, Shavkat and JDM are the most exciting fighters in that top 5 at the moment. But hey ho. All right, we digress. We go forward and then into the second fight of the main card. Macy Chasson getting the doctor stoppage against Mayra Bueno Silva in round number 2. With Macy Chasson, for me, I still kind of feel like we need to see a bit more from her. I feel like I noticed that they said on the broadcast that she's been working on her wrestling as of late. Which is good because she's predominantly a striker, right? And we kind of saw that in that fight, and we saw it in the last fight against Pani Kianzad of hers. So she is kind of improving in her game, but kind of edging these kind of wins in a way in the past. I mean, this one, I wouldn't want to say it was lucky or anything. You know, she landed the perfect elbow to get the doctor in there and have a look and stop the fight. But Mayra Bueno Silva was looking pretty good at times, you know. I felt that, however, Chasson looked pretty strong in the clinch because of her size, her height and her frame. But Mayra Bueno Silva was kind of being a bit more effective with her strikes in there. I felt that Macy landed the outside trip very well. It looked good. And she did enough to open up Mayra Bueno Silva with that one elbow, as you can see in the images there. So, look, she is one to look out for. But for me, with Chasson, I've seen her get stopped pretty easily and seen her kind of fade too easily in her fights. Okay, the liver kick that Irene Aldana landed was unique in a lot of ways. It wasn't something that we've seen before, but Aldana was winning that fight, I felt. Anyway, Raquel Pennington fight, she got guillotined by Raquel Pennington, who's predominantly a boxer. So there has been kind of fights that we've seen from her where you go, well, she's probably going to be a journeywoman. But, you know, she is improving. She's doing the right things that she needs to do. And maybe perhaps she can get herself into a title picture. But this bantamweight division, this women's bantamweight division, is a bit lackluster since Amanda Nunes stepped away. It really has. As we can kind of get into it here. No changes. But... You know, Juliana Pena versus Raquel Pennington, is that fight actually got made yet? It's been rumoured, but I think it is on the verge of being made. So, I don't know what card it's going to be. It's not going to be Perth, is it? I don't think it's going to be the Sphere. Perth might be a little bit too late for it, if I'm honest. Maybe it's going to be... it could be on the same card as Conor Chandler, perhaps. Whenever they rebook that, because that's apparently October, November they want to make that now. They could very well put it on 307 Salt Lake City. Yeah, that's what it's rumored apparently, with Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. These are yet to be confirmed. So, but I think I kind of hope that Pennington picks up that win in that one, if I'm honest. Really. But, yeah. Other fights to make, though, for them. For Macy Chasson, I think she needs to fight Ketlin Vieira next, if I'm honest. When you look at the kind of the division here, she's up there at number 2. Big step for her, but that's probably the only option, right? When you're looking at it, unless she fights Kayla Harrison, but I think Kayla Harrison's waiting out, really, because she's got hype. She's somebody who's gonna bring eyeballs to this division, right? So if you're the UFC, you keep her on the bench for a little bit. Maybe, I don't think she's going to be a last-minute replacement. There's no chance of that. Because she's a former lightweight, and she was looking pretty solid, as we saw her this past weekend. So, yeah, I think time will tell for her. I think she'll wait out for the winner of Pena versus Pennington. So, yeah. But as for Maia Brenner Silva, she wanted to continue during the fight. It was kind of sad for her in a way. She was willing to gut it out a little bit more on the feet. But it was a shame that we didn't get to see the full 3 rounds because it was a close contest. Rogan did say that he wanted to see more head movement from her during the fight. So maybe this is an adjustment that she can make and bounce back and get back onto winning ways. But I'm not going to give her a hard fight. I'm not going to give her an easy fight. I'm going to give her a difficult fight in Irene Aldana, who is, coming off a win against Carol Rosa, which was at UFC 296. Bit of some time away, but we got to let this scar heal, haven't we? Aldana could step in against any one of these girls. She could fight Ketlin Vieira next. I can't see her defending her ranking personally because she did it in the last fight. So if that fight gets made, then maybe Maia Brenner Silva will get the loser of that fight, or maybe the winner. No, not the winner. Definitely not the winner. Probably, the loser of that fight, if not. But personally, as it stands, I would love to see her fight Irina Aldana. I think that's a fight that she could maybe get to the ground, employ her grappling, because she's slick off of her back as well. We saw that she almost, I didn't even say almost had the armbar attempt, but she made a good attempt at an armbar with Meishi Chasson when she was on her back. So, I think that's a fight that she can utilise on the ground a little bit better. As we move on then to the third fight of the main card, Roman Dolidze. This whole card really was a card. It was it was a cursed card. It really was from the get-go, wasn't it? And this fight getting made very last minute was a bit of a sparring match from what I've saw. The one takeaway from the fight was the one takeaway from this fight was actually Roman Dolidze having the hairiest back in the UFC. Saw a close up of that, and my lord, he's basically like a gorilla. But that's all I saw. Like I said earlier, I only got to see like the first round of this fight, and it looked good. He had some solid moments on the feet, landed some good kicks against Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith, just from what I saw, didn't really look like he was getting going, which is kind of a shame because he should have been the fighter that was the most prepared out of the two. But do you guys think that Dolidze performed better at light heavyweight if he was able to catch the full fight? And will he return at that weight class for his next fight? Is a bit of a thing that we're kind of wondering about here. Sorry. We head on to the rankings. Then he's not moved in to the rankings, which is bizarre. The rankings actually updated because I've not seen any changes. I know that the UFC, he was waiting to kind of, his goal coming into this fight was to be ranked in both divisions. But I'm surprised that's not been done unless the UFC have not or yet to update it. But if he's going to stick around in the division, then I'd probably like to see him fight Volkan Oezdemir, perhaps. I mean, Oezdemir's coming off of a win, right? Against Johnny Walker. It's not even updated on. Hang on. It's not even updated on Wikipedia. What's going on with the rankings? Is it updated on there? No, it hasn't. What's going on with the rankings in the UK? They should have been updated. Okay, I'm surprised. Apologies, guys. I mean, I haven't seen any updates from posts on social media. So maybe the UFC just literally haven't done it. They've only updated the pound for pound rankings. Because that's all I can see. Yeah. The last real update is Hamzat moving down a ranking. Alright, that's a shame. But nonetheless, fights are being made. We'll still make fights. Yeah, Uzumir I think would be a decent. Both guys are like built like brick houses, isn't they? They're solid, and I think stylistically they're very similar in a lot of ways on the feet. Maybe you'd give the edge to Roman Dolidze on the ground. That'd be my opinion if you were to make that. But if you want think of any other fights, perhaps even at middleweight, smash a like on the video and get in the comments section as well. As for Anthony Smith, I've got Dominic Reyes. Both guys just haven't had the best of runs. It's good that Dominic Reyes is back onto the win column in his last fight against Dustin Jacoby. Anthony Smith's a bit of a veteran. Both guys have been in the UFC for some time. Make it happen, you know? I think it's an interesting fight. On to the co-main event. Kind of the one of the biggest talking points of the weekend. Diego Lopez and Dan Ige. I mean, Dan Ige, props to him for stepping up on short notice. There's no takeaways from Dan Ige from this past weekend. Great performance. Stepping in on literally hours notice. But for him, he doesn't have a lot of options next. For Diego Lopez, we absolutely must see the Brian Ortega fight. They've got to rebook it. Ortega fell ill. I don't actually know the ins and outs of the story, what happened, because I mean, you know, I was at a music festival, so wasn't completely up to date with the news. But can we get that fight rebooked, please? For the Sphere, September, UFC 306, make it happen. Diego Lopez is one of the most exciting prospects in the UFC at the moment, period. So I think we need to see him in a very big fight. As for Dan Ige, like I said, it's difficult to see what's next for him, but I would actually give him Sadiq Youssef, who's kind of fallen out of the rankings a little bit, which is was a bit surprising as well. I didn't really notice it until today. So fingers crossed, Sadiq, if you're watching, brother, go get that Dan Ige fight. I think it's a good win for you, potentially. Welcome on in, Alemisi. I'm sorry if I've said that wrong, brother. I do apologise. Discovered you from Leo Stream. Oh, really? Thanks, man. How often do you guys go live? Mate, we are live whenever you need us to be live. We'll be live for watch-alongs, fighter Q&As, where you guys get to ask the questions. We do live aftermath shows like this one here, and we'll also go live to react to various news segments as well. So we are a UFC fan channel where fan opinions matter most. So get yourselves in the chats, get your questions asked, and let's hear your opinions on some of these future fights that need to be made. Welcome on in. Smash like on the video. Love for the support. So yeah, Diego Lopez got to rebook the Brian Ortega fight. For Dan Ige, Sadiq Youssef all the way. For ranking sakes, if you want to use the rankings there to pair up either one of these men, then please do so. Because, yeah, I mean, it's whether or not the UFC want to try and rebook the Brian Ortega fight, because it was a bit of a kind of smash and grab to see what we can get and really pull this card back together again after Conor McGregor falling out and after we had Allberg pulling out and Khalil Roundtree, and it was just a snowball effect and was probably on the cusp of being cancelled, right? So this was one of the fights that they pulled together last minute. Maybe perhaps Brian Ortega might just sit back now and go, well, no. I want someone who's maybe like a Volk rematch or something like that. But if you're Diego Lopez, you got to push for that rebooking, man. If not, then maybe like a Lerone Murphy. But then Lerone Murphy deserves to fight up, so it's very difficult. We've got who else has been booked? Josh Emmett, I think, would be a good one as well for Diego Lopez. That's it. Kelvin Katie's got Carl Nelson, which is a good fight. And I think Carl Nelson's management's done really well at getting him that fight as well, if I'm honest. So yeah, that's how I see the state of the featherweight division at the moment. Like I said earlier, smash a like on the video. Welcome on in. And Mercy says, do you think Alex has a chance against Tom at heavyweight? Oh, Tom's a good question. I mean, we're not going to be talking about Tom, actually. I didn't plan to talk about Tom during this show. We're going to talk about Alex Pereira and John Jones in a sec. But for Tom Aspinall, I can't see it, though. I think I really see Alex struggling at heavyweight, especially against a young heavyweight in Tom Aspinall. We'll get into John Jones a little bit later on, as I said. You know, I think, yeah, hold tight on that one, mate. Hold tight on that one. At the moment, I would say that Tom Aspinall is probably the one to get the job done in that fight, stylistically. But whether or not it does materialise, well, let's talk about it. Is it possible? Let's get into then the main event. Then, as we're there, Alex Pereira with that stunning knockout against Jiri Prochazka. And apparently it's something they were able to set up previous on the day of the fight, I think. This is what Ash was telling me. Like I said, was at a music festival. Wasn't completely tuned in the whole weekend. He said that they noticed Jiri training or hit and miss in the build-up during fight week. And they realised that he was open and susceptible to the head kick. So, the way that he put it together, though, was stunning, right? Because he landed that left hook that was notorious for putting people away in the past. Landed it at the end of the first round. And then the first strike he lands in the second round was the head kick. And he set it up with the low kicks as well in that first round. And he is on a wave at the moment. Possibly one of the biggest... Would you say he's like the most valuable player so far in 2024? Because I kind of think so, right? He's clearly the one fighter who's staying active regardless, willing to save fight cards on short notice, defend his title, little preparation, against a very unorthodox fighter who's kind of very... flamboyant in a lot of ways. So yeah, I was quite shocked. I was quite shocked by that outcome. I mean, I predicted round one, but you know, a head kick, we never thought it because Alex never throws head kicks. We rarely see it. So it was a move that was put together to a T. What's next for him though? The John Jones stuff we'll get into in a sec. Surely, in terms of the way that the title picture looks at the moment, Magomed Ankalaev is the next guy in line at light heavyweight, right? But the UFC are capable of surprising us, right? Because I didn't think that this Jiri fight was going to happen. Even like when you take 303 out of it, apparently they were looking to set this fight up for Perth, Australia. So maybe Ankalaev wasn't completely ready. Is it visa issues perhaps that held that fight up? Because I didn't really understand why you would do a rematch with Jiri so soon. Yes, it was controversial. People were saying that it was that the first fight was stopped too early. I don't think it was. But for me, looking back at it, I don't think enough people were saying that. So, who knows, man? Who knows? But Ankalaev is the ultimate test right now for him at 205 pounds. And the problem with MMA fans is we're always looking for something negative to say, right? Following somebody's win or even a loss. And we're all victims of it. We can't deny it. We all do it. But Alex Pereira is yet to be tested against an elite wrestler. Ankalaev at the moment in this division is the closest to that. Yes, Jan Blachowicz can wrestle as well. but not to the ability of an Ankalaev. So if Alex Pereira is able to get past Magomed Ankalaev, where does he sit as one of the all-time greats? Where? Right? Because that's what we kind of see. But then, or are fans just going to look for the next thing? Right? Oh, he's not defended this belt this amount of times. Oh, he's not fought someone who's got this, got that. He's not fought John Jones. He's not gone up and become a 3-division champion. There's always going to be an excuse. This is what it is. Alimisi says, Alex is 100% the face of the UFC right now. Yeah, I've got to agree with you. Have to agree with you. And the fact that he's done it in such a short time is unreal. Because he's on his way to putting Izzy all the way down here, right? He's going to become more popular than Izzy. It's fact. It's going to happen. Or is it going to set up the trilogy? Could we set up the trilogy? If Izzy was to beat Dricus, is that the next fight? You do the trilogy fight between Pereira and Adesanya, 205. Pereira's going to accept it. And it's kind of almost the ultimate fight for Izzy to bow out and leave the sport. If he finally does get that second belt, beat his arch nemesis again in MMA. You know? But if he loses, what else is there for him? Food for thought, guys. Food for thought. Lot to go through. Yes, Peanut Butter Piper. Oh, mate, what a name. Oh, you were Lucas Tracy at one point, and now you're Peanut Butter Piper. I love that. That is leave that name, because I know at one point you were like something Makachev, and I know you were. I can't remember what it was, but I'm enjoying that name. Cheers, buddy. He says Alex's manager commented on IG post and said he wants Alex to fight Jan. Why? Why? We've seen it. Why do we need to see Alex Pereira just beat these guys again? Like, go round again? Why? No. I don't think so. I know that decision was close and Jan's been like crying about it ever since, but look, let's just see this Magomed and Clive fight, or even bigger fight at heavyweight. Alamisi says Jan has been tweeting about Alex recently. A rematch between the both would be extremely interesting since the last fight was close. I know it would be interesting, but have we not got to kind of move on a bit? You know? Don't get me wrong. If Pereira goes up against Ankalaev, loses, rematch Jan, I'm all for it. Or Izzy and loses there, rematch Jan. That's probably the next move for you. But in terms of a title fight, I don't think so. Jan Blachowicz needs to keep winning and prove himself, I think. Yeah, that's where I stand with it at the moment. As for Jiri Prochazka, though, one of the main topics of this Aftermath show was, can he make middleweight, and will we see him at middleweight next? Because something that I was able to pull out earlier was that Dricus Duplessis said, I think back in April, that he felt that Prochazka walks around a lot lighter than he does, or than he should compared to most light heavyweights. And they believe that it is possible for him to make middleweight. So do you guys want to see Jiri Prochazka move down to middleweight? And if so, who should it be against? You know? We don't have the middleweight rankings currently on standby. Let me know what you think in the chats. I'll get it up. Actually, no, I won't get it up on my screen at the moment, because I do have two options at middleweight. What does the path look like for him? Well, you could give him Nassourdine Imavov. He's on a bit of a win streak. Imavov could be a bit too technical for Prochazka, but at the same time, it's a bit of a gateway to the top 5. Because he's currently in the top 5 at light heavyweight. Why would you not give him a top 5 opponent at middleweight? Right? Imavov is that guy. And like I said, I think in the last Aftermath show, I felt like Imavov just kind of is not winning necessarily decisively in a way. There have been like areas, in his fights where things have sort of happened that kind of go against his performance in a way. Jerry Cannonier was the fact that the fight was stopped too early. Against Chris Curtis, it was the fact that there was a headbutt and it went to a no contest. We didn't actually get to see the proper outcome of that fight. So yeah, and of course he did lose. All right, he beat Delize, which was great, but he's yet to really get a solid win against a top 5 opponent in my eyes. You know. So thanks for joining in, even if I'm getting chats at the moment on WhatsApp saying that I'm being watched even though they're with their girlfriend. So thanks for that, Aaron. Much appreciated. Much love, brother. Anamisi says, would love to see Jiri KO Sean Strickland for a title eliminator. Mate, I mean, it's probably a fight that Sean Strickland would take. We know he's willing to take any old fight. But after the Costa fight, he did kind of come out and say, I should fight for the belt next, regardless. And he has a big claim there. And if you're Strickland's management, you probably should tell him to wait out for the outcome of that fight. Or step on off short notice, if required. So I think the UFC will probably do that. Because let's face it, if Izzy pulls out, we get Dricus versus Strickland 2. Amazing. We get to see that fight again. It was so close last time. It was 50-50 in both sides. Some felt that Dricus won. Some felt that Strickland won. Let's see a better outcome. If Dricus falls out, we get to see Izzy Strickland 2. Okay, not as exciting, but Izzy sells fights, right? and that fight definitely sold once before and would be entertaining to run back again. So, yeah, I would keep Strickland for a backup personally. My other option though for Jiri, bit of a veteran at middleweight, I would say, not necessarily top fiver, is Marvin Vettori, purely because he doesn't have many options right now. He's fought the who's who of this middleweight division. And he hasn't had a finish in his last 7 fights. His last finish was in 2020. So, like, when you look at Vettori, it's like, what would actually be next for him? Maybe a Brendan Allen is possible. After Brendan Allen had a close fight against Chris Curtis. Probably doesn't deserve to climb any higher. Brendan Allen fight Vettori? He's not actually, no. But, you know, if you're Vettori, what would you rather fight? A former light heavyweight who people actually love watching in Jiri Prochazka, or would you rather fight Brendan Allen? That's all I'm going to say. Sai says Jiri, only 31. Man's got life ahead of him. There's no shame in holding on number 1 light heavyweight, though. True. But another thing to take away from Jiri is I felt that Jiri was going to be the most prepared fighter out of the two of these fighters. And I was actually kind of worried for Alex Pereira in a lot of ways, because Jiri supposedly spent 3 days in the dark, right? And was constantly training the whole time. His goal was to climb back to that spot and beat Alex Pereira. But mate, what are you doing if you're spending 3 days in the dark and you get KO'd like that? Do you know what I mean? What are you doing? Personally, I think he needs to work on his head movement more and get his hand up to block these shots. So, do you stick around at light heavyweight? I've always felt that Jiri versus Jan Blachowicz is the fight to make. I want to see that. Because he KO'd Rakic, looked great there. Rakic has got some good kickboxing to him. But Jan can wrestle as well. And he's also got some good striking. So, George Mary's in the house. Evening, men. What did I miss? Mate, George, you've missed a lot. Make sure you go back and rewatch the Aftermath show. But we've got lots more to talk about. We're going to talk about whether or not Alex Pereira versus John Jones is a fight that could possibly be made in the future. So make sure you've got your seatbelt fastened, because I know you're normally tuning in on your way home from work. Hope work was a good. You had a good day at work, brother. You know the drill. JK late to work on daily. See, look, before I even read that message, I knew you were late running back. No problems, brother. It says man went with lights. Light out to having his lights knocked out. Literally, I know. There's no excuse now for that fight. It sucks for Jiri in a way. George Murray says Magomed is next. For light heavyweight, I do think that. No, Tom is next. I don't care. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's talk about then this kind of option we have right here for both of these guys. John Jones. Where do I start? With John Jones? He did kind of come out after this fight and said would be the biggest fight in MMA history. There's no fight that generates a payday like that with Alex Pereira. He's the most talked about person in the sport right now in the UFC. As we said earlier, someone in the chat said earlier. Is it the biggest fight ever? Right? I think so. Right? It's not the biggest fight that could have happened. Right? Because we've had the likes of Khabib versus GSP get thrown out at one point as a rumor mill. They tried to put that together. So I think that would probably be the biggest two that could have happened. But the biggest to have happened would be John Jones versus Alex Pereira. And, you know, when you look at John Jones and what he's been open and said in social media in the past about fighting Tom Aspinall and where he sits at the moment, fighting Stipe and then probably retiring, will he stick to that? Well, coming out recently, somebody asked him if he's retiring after the Stipe Miocic fight, and he said, honestly, it's hard to say right now. I'm going to base a lot of that on my next performance. The options are looking crazy right now. So the door is still open. He is not going to retire after the Stipe Miocic fight. Unless he loses, of course. If he loses, then what would be next? Because his stock would fall drastically. Right? He's not going to fight at light heavyweight again. He's too big, I think, now. And much older. In fact, actually, I think I saw something earlier. I think he's the same age. Is he 36? And he's the same age as Alex Pereira. Which is insane, right? But at the same time, he's put on a lot of timber to make heavyweight. I can't see him cutting down to 205 again. Pereira's 36, yeah. John Jones is... I don't know if fact check this. 36 as well. Like, that is crazy. This fight is possible, right? What if as long as Alex Pereira keeps that light heavyweight belt, that's the ultimate thing. But you would also feel sorry for the winner of Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades, right? Because they are next for the belt, regardless. Tom's the interim champion. He should fight John Jones. He shouldn't have to be made to wait out again. So, what do we think is going to play out? Do we think that if Tom beats Blades, then Alex Pereira moves up and fights Tom? I think that's the better outcome, right? That is the ultimate test for Pereira. If you get past Tom Aspinall at heavyweight, John Jones is next for the biggest fight ever. Right? There's no denying it. George says, moment Jones stepped in the cage to fight Stipe, the Tom Blades fight would be a waste of time as Tom will be stripped. True. They're literally using the interim title just to sell the pay-per-view of UFC 304. It's true. Yeah, and that fight is probably going to be made at the end of the year. We'll probably find out in August or something like that. I don't use as much timber as Jones has put on. I love that. George Murray says Conor was stripped after 400 days of inactivity, but Dana is riding the tails of Jones. Yeah, different people get different treatment at the UFC. It's his historic for doing it. You know, they really are. Joneses, the Rondas, the Conors, they're the biggest stars, and Alex Pereira probably close to getting there. Obviously, he's quite iconic because of what he does with the like celebrations, the fact he's always knocking dudes out, and built a name off of himself from beating Izzy in MMA and kickboxing. But I think what he lacks is the fact he doesn't speak as much English. He's making as much content though. There's a lot of content out there, and of course Nina Drama's helping with that as well. So he's getting himself out there. Whether or not he's going to reach those kind of levels at 36, I don't know. Time will tell. Heard Volk was stepping in on the left wing for England. Oh, mate. Is that true? Are we? Is Foden out? Is Foden injured? Put Ivan Toney there or something, mate. Mate, Volk would as well. That's the thing. I bet Volk's actually pretty good with football. I mean, even though he played rugby. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. All right, the last thing we want to talk about then. Well, actually, a quick one. Prediction, John Jones, Alex Pereira. At the moment, you'd probably give it to John Jones. Purely because he's got wrestling. His fight IQ is unreal. He'd do to Pereira what Ian Garry was able to do to MVP, but maybe worse, in my opinion. But, however, on the flip side, Jones's activity, as of late, has not been great. Yeah, okay, he stepped up against Cyril Gane, who was meant to be the next generational heavyweight, who moves fast, light on his feet, great striker. We saw what the outcome was in that fight, but I think that was more of a mindset thing than anything. Because Gane's got too many distractions, and Pereira's focus on winning. So, I don't know. You know, that's, I think, the size to break things down of this fight, in my opinion. Yeah. Pereira versus Tom Aspinall, if that happens. Again, it's got to be Tom Aspinall, really. I think Pereira's going to struggle size-wise against the heavyweights. But, look, man, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Smash like on the video, guys. Good to see you in, as always. The last thing we want to talk about is the pound-for-pound rankings, actually, because that was something that got updated. George Murray says Jones will go straight to the ground. He won't want to strike with Poatan. No. It would be tentative on the feet until it's down to the ground. And yeah, I think that Pereira's doing a really good job at the moment of putting in the work at learning judo, because when people get him in those clinch scenarios, if he's able to reverse position in quick succession like that, mate, he winds up on top. It's the best move for it, you know? And I like the fact that he's doing that. We kind of saw glimpses of it. We really did. He's forever posting it on social media. Yeah, the last thing we want to talk about is the updated pound-for-pound rankings. Is it the right move to make? Dana's not going to be happy about this. Dana thinks that the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world at the moment is John Jones, purely because of what he's accomplished, purely because of the fact that he does seem very unbeatable at the moment, and has only got one career loss on his resume at the moment, and that was a disqualification. Which you got to kind of agree with him in a lot of ways, right? But at the same time, a lot of fans feel that Jones hasn't been as active as he should be, and therefore, or even the people who run the website, clearly, and they've put Alex Pereira in at number 2. And I think for that reason, for activity reasons, yeah, Alex Pereira deserves to be in at number 2, behind Islam Makhachev, who has, you know, Makhachev got more, I think, what, title defenses now? Who's got the most title defenses out of the two? I want to say it is Makhachev, isn't it? It must be. I mean, because literally, Pereira's like defending the belt in such quick succession. It's unreal. Yes, Cray, my man Cray, who says Jones the GOAT. Mate, Cray, I've been meaning to catch up with you, man. I honestly have been, but I've been so rubbish lately. Yeah, much love, brother. Much love. Good to see you in the chats. Hopefully we'll get to catch up soon. I just realised these chats are filing underneath there. I should put you there. Pereira has got how many title defenses? I lose count so quick. 2. Yeah, it wasn't really that hard to see, was it? Whereas Makachev's on at 3 now, right? I mean, it's crazy that Pereira's done that in such quick succession. 1, 2, yeah, 3, and obviously 2 of those were against Volt, but still, that's not his fault. That's not his fault. Smash a like on the video, guys. Do you think that Pereira should be in at number 2 of the rankings? Leave a comment on the video as well if you're catching this at another time. Personally, I think John Jones, for what he's accomplished, should be the pound for pound number 1. Then it should probably be Islam. Then it should be Alex Pereira, and then Leon Edwards. It's close between Leon and Topuria, actually. I'm quite surprised that Topuria is ranked in at number 5. But I guess he does deserve to be ranked higher than Sean O'Malley because he's undefeated and is a champion. A win against Max would, mate, do him all sorts, mate, of favours. But Max in number 8 is insane as well. Duplessis, though, could go higher should he beat Izzy. Of course. Why wouldn't he? Would he go above as far as Volk? Because maybe. I think it's possible. I don't know. I personally wouldn't put him. I'd put him above Max, though, if he beats Izzy. As far as that. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Oh, that's an old chat. My bad. But, yeah. All right. Let's take us back then. Thanks for tuning in, guys. You guys have been amazing, as always. Little bit of a light video for now. It's a light. We've still managed to pull in an hour, to be fair. I can talk for whatever. Doesn't matter if I've been away at the weekend. I can still give you guys some good things to talk about amongst yourselves. Much love, as always. There's no UFC event this weekend. That's right. There's no UFC event this weekend, but we'll keep the content coming as always. So make sure you got the notifications bell rang on our channel. And stay tuned for more live streams to come. Much love, and we'll see you on the next one. George Murray says, peace, JK. Short but sweet. Have a good one. Yes, brother. We'll catch you soon. And on the next one, much love. Good night. Take it easy. Bye-bye.